game, as they already mentioned during the lounge, that big Bard game that gave them the massive upset over Cloud9 during the spring split, when we still imagined them going to be a top 2 team during the league. And you get to see, this is currently the best supports on the patch, as Olleh tends to favor what is really strong in solo queue. We'll see if he brings that out today.
Yeah, Olleh said in an interview, this is why we're showing this, that he just looks at whatever is the highest win rate on the patch that he's playing. So if we follow that, then we'll follow that graphic for the pick order here for Olleh. There were, funnily enough, you saw Galio really high up there, number 2. It's so much talk, and a lot of it was scrims and originating from Core JJ at MSI, playing a lot of Galio support in scrims. I was looking forward to any Galio. Galio top, Galio mid, Galio support, and I never got it at MSI. So I hope that Olleh will deliver it to me now, but I don't think it's a super high priority, and I don't think it's super likely. We're already into the picks here. Number 1 priority, get that Skarner for your top laner.
Yes, sir. And it's still a potential flex option depending on what the composition looks like, but as Flowers mentioned multiple times, so far the strongest role and the most reliable position is in the top lane. Shopify answering with a pick that has also been contested in bans for most of our series this week in that Rumble, and of course the Corki potential flex option, most likely going to go into the mid lane.
Yeah, FakeGod really liking his Rumble. There is still the option, because Senna is not banned. You could pick up a Senna and flex the Rumble down to support if you really wanted to. I also want to mention that Rumble Jungle has been regaining popularity recently. It is an option that is out there with the prominence of AP junglers. So whenever you see this, I'm just waiting for one of the teams to do that sneaky switcheroo. I will primarily assume that they are going top lane, but you can definitely play it in jungle right now in solo queue. It's pretty good for carrying by yourself.
Yeah.
But that being said, we do expect to be top, and we are going to get that Sejuani for Tomio, which when I think of Tomio, I always think of the Graves. But I know last year, he just played so many Sejuani games. And Sejuani is honestly Giga right now.
Yeah.
For me, I've started, whenever you have a melee top laner, fitting in some Sejuani games, because I really like the Warmog's Rush on Sejuani specifically. Her and the Skarner, to me, are the 2 best jungle uses of that Warmog's Rush. That's pretty popular now.
I mean, both of them benefit with so much health scaling, that being able to rush that item, and considering how much poke is in the game now, it's a great anti-item to soak up the damage, back off for a few seconds, let the Warmog's passive work its magic to regain all that HP, and be ready to soak up more damage as you continue Siege. But we're in the second round of bans. A couple supports in Leona and Senna being kind of a 2-way flex, most likely the AD carry option, trying to prevent that Senna Nautilus combo from being locked in for Immortals. The Bvoy also taken off the table. Immortals, if they still want to continue down the support train, they can look at, nope, not going to be that. It's going to be an Ezreal. Taking some notes from Quid's mid-Ezreal game just last series.
When I see multiple patches where they buff damage on Ezreal Ultimate, I was thinking, this thing is really starting to hit hard. Buff and buff and buff, and then ends up on the ban list here on 14-12 on the live patch. So we'll see. Now, Varus last split was one of Bvoy's favorite champions.
Yes, sir.
It was his most played champion, and it was the key to, honestly, a lot of Shopify's wins. And they didn't have a whole lot of wins, but a lot of them were because of Bvoy's Varus. So I like that they are just going right back to what worked in spring. The analyst desk was mentioning how it was impressive how Bvoy made top LCS rankings there on a losing squad. So we'll see who's going to get the advantage in the AD carry matchups. Tactical was also very critical in Immortals wins.
Gonna see what Shopify round out this composition with. Immortals pick their jungler of choice with the Zeyzal, and the Zeri will go to Tactical. So far, nothing too spicy in this first look at Immortals and Shopify since we last saw them. Remember, these were the only 2 teams that didn't make the playoff cut, despite not being that far behind. For Shopify, they were literally 1 game away from clinching playoffs, and it just came down to energy just barely sneaking into the 6th seed.
All right, onto the stage. completed drafts, no super crazy things, but we'll see. Can Immortals get tactical some early money on Zeri? This is a guy that has paid back Immortals whenever they invest jungle pressure down there, whenever they invest, extra ganks, extra resources to get him fed, and now he's on the Zeri, so definitely in a position.
I love this. On his first stage game in the LCS, we're getting Tomio fan chants. This is how you welcome a rookie into the LCS.
I mean, Raafaa, you have cast Tomio for like 4 years.
True.
Through all of Academy and Tier 2. What are some of your favorite Tomio memories?
Honestly, there's so many. I still remember the first time I saw this guy in action was Honda Scouting Grounds in 2020. He was on Team Infernal. He was playing a ton of Lilia, a couple of Evelyn games that were just monstrous. But honestly, the best parts about Tomio is when he is streaming. And anytime you got to tune into his streams, he's just talking. He's having a great time. His personality is super infectious. There was this one game in Champions Queue where his team is demolishing the other team. He's playing Volibear, and the rest of his team is trying to come. It's like, okay, this is how we're going to end the game. And he goes, guys, I'm a bear! Roar! And he just gets like a triple kill on top of it. And that's just like the goofy personality that Tomio is. And I want to see that fully embraced, not just on this squad, but in the entirety of the summer split.
All right, well, on this game, he's riding a pig, so, still animals involved.
He can still lead the charge.
Exactly, the Sejuani on the front lines, the vanguard there. Sejuani also early stages here, starting on bottom half of the map, so you can path up to your Rumble matchup. Your Rumble matchup that should be winning versus Skarner early on. You have really, really good AoE damage priority here. FakeGod with the Comet, trying to get a slow push going for himself. Pretty nice job here. Meanwhile, Castle very safely and respectfully farming away with the rocks here. Dodges out on the Harpoon, but still getting burned by the Flamethrower. Not much you can do versus the Rumble early on. As we mentioned, this should always be priority there. And of course, the Rumble has a pretty easy time building into a Leandries as well. So the health stacking Skarner, kind of an easy target for them to really increase and milk those DPS numbers.
Yeah.
You'll see these top laners with crazy damage numbers at the end of games because they're just constantly trading tank on tank and roasting those HP pools. Meanwhile, Armao heading his way towards bottom to really focus on this bottom lane, and that's one of the biggest stories for both these teams that we have had coming into this, because last season in spring, these teams did not win very many games when their AD carries were behind.
Yeah.
In fact, Shopify, I believe, won 0 games when their bottom lane was behind, and Immortals only won a single game when Tactical was behind. So very critical, we know, for both of these teams to get their bottom lanes ahead. You have to have that reliable team fight later.
With a lot of the AD carry itemization changes, we imagine that these teams will start playing towards that bottom lane more often. I know that even talking to Joey, who is the assistant coach for Immortals, that a lot of the problems that went wrong was just, new team getting together and communication issues, as Tomio might make his first move towards mid lane. It's just a Valkyrie forward from Insanity. Mask, safe enough distance away from Tomio. Does not need to burn the flash, but it does allow Insanity to get that push.
Meanwhile, the roasting continues on top side because they know their jungler's on bottom side, and even with the visit there from Sejuani, nothing the Skarner can really do. So Castle's got a timing for a teleport back, goes into the tier early. We are going to get the Thimble Winter Skarner, very popular, very strong, especially with so many AD carries floating around the mid lane. You can then build into a Frozen Heart later. You get your extra bonus out of your mana. And you've got that very, very effective attack speed AoE reduction that you can apply to both Corki as well as Varus. Meanwhile, the wards that were left behind did see Armao cross river. Doesn't matter for him, just drops his 2 wards with the control as well as the Trinket ward and dropping the Scryer's Bloom. So everybody knows the location of both junglers, because you know the Sejuani started on bottom side and has to be re-clearing right now. So by process of elimination, you can assume okay.
We're back. It's okay?
And we're back.
Nobody panic.
It's the glitch in the Matrix.
For Shopify, so far, nothing too spicy has come out. It's just been kind of an exchange of crashes and wave pushes. No really strong backs on either side yet. Tomio was able to get a Kindle Gem, more than likely rushing towards that Warmog, as you already pointed out. He's getting a chance to take these second rotation Raptors away from Armao.
And he also did pass by a ward. There was a ward here, and there were wards here. So both the support resets, as well as the jungle move there to go look for Raptors, seen. The vision coverage has been strong for both sides. And now Armao are gonna make another pass.
Wait, Tactical is on the top side of the map, answering back with Castle. The play made by the top laner sets up Tactical for success in its first blood over to Immortals.
Another one of these bot lane reset timings here on the Void Grub spawn. We saw it in the last game, in the last series, and Immortals make a similar one here. Tactical and Olleh, they reset from bottom side, they try and surprise on top side, pre-6 minutes, which is where your Void Grub, bonus is going to be. But even better than just going up there for the Void Grubs, they've got a Skarner on their team, and Skarner's very good at catching out enemy top laners. Just pulls in FakeGod. Nice job there by Castle. Castle goes for the flash, yoinks in FakeGod, and right into the wall, into the ultimate. Zero escape possibilities there for him. Tactical finishes the job for them. They got the money exactly where they want it. Raafaa, this game is going perfect for Immortals, and they want to make FakeGod feel even more pain.
And he used Equalizer in the prior fight, so he's not going to have it to defend himself under the tower. Castle leads the dive first, tries to flash away, but Olleh is there to intercept him with another CC ability. Immortals on the board with 2 kills now.
You have to stay on your feet here. You have to always keep track of resets. I don't classify 6-minute swaps as lane swaps. You know, these are I would say mid-game once you get Void Grub swapping in and we get into here the first few minutes. Like, these are mid-game macro moves. Maybe early game. All right, we'll go with early game. Early game macro moves, but these aren't.
They're doing it again, Kobe! Just leave FakeGod alone, but this time Zeyzal is there to defend his top laner from getting bullied, and it's a kill back over to Shopify.
All right, Skarner goes splat this time around because they've got Zeyzal there. They've got the cover for FakeGod, and they get the dragon. So that kind of cascade of gold and top lane pressure for Immortals comes to a screeching halt. Meanwhile, Shopify with Tomio picking up that dragon, not feeling too bad about it.
I will say, it was not fun for FakeGod to get dove twice and to get ganked by Tactical, but he's still up in CS, so, consolation prize that he's still keeping up in gold, whereas Castle, to make up those plays, he had to sacrifice a lot of the time trying to CS. We're going to see how well that actually affects FakeGod's ability to stay relevant as we get closer and closer to the mid-game. Yeah. There's still 6 minutes of turret plates. Maybe Shopify can rectify that with the moves that they made on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, Rumble obviously milking and making the most out of some of the early stages there. Now back onto the bottom side. So again, keeping track of this with the Zeri. Gonna have a pretty easy time for the Zeri in that matchup. Meanwhile, Castle here, honestly, not very dangerous for a Skarner. You are pretty immune to tower dives unless they really bring the whole squad to come get you. As you have a lot of options under tower to really outplay. So looks like we are going to continue with the mismatch there. And jungle even going bottom as well over another ward here for the side of Immortals, as Armao passed by that control ward and passes by this Tribrush ward. But the goal is achieved the same. Both teams just zoning away the enemy top laner. No sneaky soaking of experience for either of you in our mid-game here.
I will say, both junglers are putting a lot of attention into their bot lanes, as we're kind of hoping to see as the big change for Immortals and Shopify going into the summer split. As we probably will remind fans that when they weren't playing through the bot lanes, they didn't win a majority of their games, and it happened a lot during this week's split.
Yeah, definitely critical to get the extra money on them. And, I mean, we're going to see a lot more of these, so, like, I guess we still have to use the technical term of lane swapping, but I don't look down on mid-game lane swaps
Sure.
the same way that I do the early ones, because the early ones are way more boring to watch. But it's still going to be fairly similar here in how it plays out. Now both of them slipping back in, kind of collecting. Meanwhile, we just had the farm off in mid lane. Nothing spectacular going down there either. You know, Hwei going with the very normal, get your tier pretty early on, start stacking for your Seraphs. That thing is just so good now, the extra defense, once you're able to get it transformed. So once your tier stacking up very early on, that plus the last chapter means you have a bazillion mana and you won't have to worry about your clear at all. Always going to be able to replenish it. Now we've got a reset for Grubs number 2 though. FakeGod does have the teleport ready for the Rumble. Meanwhile, Skarner has the same. So the options are there to actually fight it, but it looks like they're just going to continue pushing topside for the side of Immortals.
Yeah.
Zeri and Nautilus just want to get that wave in and make you lose out a little bit more at the tower in payment for these.
They got to be careful. If they don't crash this wave fast enough, okay. They get a chance to do it. There was a world where Shopify, you could see that they were pinging towards the top side of the map. They had Unleashed teleports on both Insanity and FakeGod, but they don't pull the trigger.
My only question there was, are Tactical and Olleh going to greed a little bit and go for that turret plate?
Yeah.
Because the turret plate was pretty low, but they don't greed for it. They make the good call. They back off, and they don't get the extra plate money, but they also don't lose their lives.
All right, Tomio knows his job. He throws out the ulti and sees whether Mask believes him or not that it will hit, and Mask is like, yep, I will burn my flash, and that means the next time Tomio has his ultimate, it will be before Mask gets his own flash up, and that should be a guaranteed kill zone.
Yep, guarantee right there. Payment, the Hwei flash will be easily tracked. Zeke's convergence, by the way, the rush, not the Warmog's rush here for Tomio. Zeke's, since they took the mana off of it, it became way more attractive to junglers. Junglers always feel really bad about buying anything that has mana on it because you get so much mana sustain through jungle item. But it's really nice for a lot of these you know, tanky-ish junglers because you get both resistances. It's a very easy kind of one-stop shop. And the proc is quite nice as well for Sejuani, bringing the extra damage as well as the extra little bit of slow there. So rush for him, gonna be that he has a really early completion. Meanwhile, Zeyzal, I would say always go for Titanic Rush. You should always do this. It is so, so nice. Some people do prefer the sustain of the Sundered Sky, but man, the auto attack reset is so transformative for Zeyzal's kit. Being able to quickly get your knock-up is just insane with this champion. And so the only kind of edge that the Sundered Sky has, of course, is the healing if you're really going to be taking a beating.
Yeah. Quick update for the rest of the map. We are at 13 minutes into the game, which means there's only one more minute before all the turret plates are gone. Second dragon has spawned, Shopify taking the first dragon in the game while Immortals took that first rotation of Grubs. But the fact that Shopify was able to get the second rotation of Grubs means that it balances out the neutral objective power that they've gotten so far.
Yeah, and we did see Armao kind of slinking around the second Grubs. It's always worth mentioning that it is very, very valuable to be able to steal one of the second pack. If you got the first three, you know, trying just to get to 4 to get the single might spawn is incredible. Not to mention the extra bonus experience for stealing away one of those Grubs. And since the enemy jungler can only smite one of them, there are 3, and sometimes there are a lot of good windows to go in and steal. Unfortunately for Immortals and for Armao, Zeyzal is not very good at getting away from situations like that. You know, will oftentimes have to burn the flash. It's not very slippery, so did not want to invest the flash or risk anything to go for a steal on one of those. And that's why we've had this fairly calm, besides the lane swap surprise kills action that we had in the beginning, fairly calm sort of mid-game here with just the trades. Meanwhile, on the timer for this Rift Herald, they're actually making the call for 3 members to group mid, and Immortals are trying to see if, oh, maybe we can get some sort of setup here to catch anyone rotating back over, but it's fully warded out for Shopify. So Insanity just walks right back around. They take their Rift Rail. They go right back up to the top side. Now Immortals, though, want to trap.
Yeah, they're giving a priority to go for the second dragon. They're just looking for Tomio as the Dredge Light hits him as he comes out of the jungle with the Arctic Assault. But Zeyzal holds the line. As now Armao tries to go for the charge. The counter engage from Zeyzal's Insanity is here's first. The rest of Shopify, can they get the damage down? They find Mask before he's able to pop anymore, but the Spiraling Despair was thrown out. Trades it out for Insanity. Armao trying to take out Tomio, but it's Tactical that saves the fight as he now is just gunning them down, and the rest of Shopify are able to walk away.
Ooh, Zeri getting a bunch of these early kills is very scary. Bvoy was able to get a couple of them too on the Varus, but I'm more worried about a Zeri absolutely taking over. Tactical did invest both summoner spells though, so Bvoy does have the summoner spell advantage as he's able to push out this mid lane. 2 for Bvoy, 3 for Tactical though now the count, as Olleh was the one that started out, and both supports with their aftershocks shrug off the first initiation, but the critical part here was Mask has no flash. You see Mask at the bottom of your screen there. He immediately went down, but luckily for them, he got his ult off. He got his Hwei ult off as he was dying, and so that meant it was going to be a mid lane 1-for-1, and the tipping point is just Tactical chasing down with his ultimate proc here to be able to get those last couple of kills and even up the kill count.
Shopify gonna drop the Rift Herald in the mid lane. They should have enough firepower to be able to take this turret down. Castle is the only one defending the tier 1, but the rest of Immortals, 4 men onto Insanity. They know that he doesn't have flash from the prior fight. It's just easy setup to give another kill over to Mask, but they get another charge in the mid lane on the side of Shopify. Castle, can he stop a further onslaught? He's forced to flash away, but he gets the Impale, dragging Zeyzal back with him, no flash, and he gets the E to pull right back in. The Rock hits him in the back, but it gets traded by Shopify.
Oh man, Castle's able to pull it off. Nice little Skarner mechanics there. It's pretty funny, the hitbox on the E and charging people backwards, just right next to him, pulls them back in even deeper, does get the 1 kill. It was WoW, you go for the dragon, so an extra turret goes down. It's 2 turrets mid, Rift Herald invested, but dragon plus the extra kill on Insanity picked up on the other side of it. Definitely fun to watch. I mean, I would do the same thing. If I'm just watching them push at me, I'm super bored, I want to make something happen.
Sure.
He gets a kill for himself. Top laner's got to be able to live a little here, baby. Let's take another look at it. Honestly, pretty nicely done. He flashes away from the jump, then goes ult into, here's what we're talking about, the E. If you're just right next to them, it looks funky, but you can just E him back, and then he's able to hit the rock there at the end to finish it off. So gets his kill, gets the 1-for-1. Unfortunately for him, it is an assisted kill, so the other team gets a little bit bonus money, and the tower went down anyway, but have a little fun, live a little.
Gotta be careful when disrespecting the Scorpion. There's a reason why Flowers and so many members of the community have been hyped up on this champion. I mean, as Flowers put it, he went from not even being on tier list to now being S++ tier on multiple tier lists. But I have to say, most of this game has really been around the bot lanes. We already touched on it earlier in the game before, but Bvoy, 3-0-1 on the Varus, Tactical 3-0-2 on the Zeri, as the engage from Shopify finds Zeyzal or Olleh, and Bvoy will find the arrow to kill him back. Zeyzal still tanky enough to be able to walk away from the onslaught, and Immortals starting to crumble here.
Yeah, and this is on-hit Varus too. So this guy is going to melt through a Skarner, melt through a Nautilus. These health stacking champs, when you are in these, well, Insanity now under attack again.
Still no flash. The Impale locks him up, and Tactical is just going to get spoon-fed another kill. His 4th one in the game.
Hit a Q challenge. Doesn't matter though, because he's right next to you. Ends up collecting. You were talking about the AD carry race, Raafaa. They are staying even here.
Yes,
neck and neck. Just as Bvoy gets one on the top side, they get the kind of free kill there onto Olleh. Another free kill here handed to Tactical on the bottom side. To me, though, the Zeri is always the most scary because it has more mobility. Although it is on-hit Varus and the damage output is quite nice, especially versus some health stacking frontliners here, the Zeri with the extra mobility as the game gets long.
Right.
It's really scary. Plus, the Zeri has a Skarner frontline here, which makes things a lot easier to play.
Yeah, and the way that these two compositions want to play team fights are vastly different as well. Shopify, they want to set up a fortress, set up proper battle lines to make sure that Bvoy, while in this Varus, doesn't have that mobility, but he has so much attack speed to be able to pre-fire. This IMT trying to set up this pick on the Zeyzal. The crash down gets him away. It's forced to flash, just respecting the amount of engage tools that Immortals were looking to use.
Yeah, and Immortals also have the push on bottom side. The Skarner here, Castle, with his Hollow Radiance magic resistance, plus his Merc Treads, he is fully built for the side lane versus specifically the Rumble, with so much invested in magic resist here that he's able to get the push on bottom side while the rest of the team makes this move mid. And getting out a flash from Zeyzal is not like the biggest victory because it is a Rell with Hex Flash, but it is something, you know, and it's one of these things where supports, especially Nautiluses and Rells, are going to be some of the more frequently caught out.
Nice sidestep from Mask, and the terrifying Visage onto Tomio fears him in place, but the equalizers, FakeGod teleported onto the top side. They cut off Mask from any support. Armao's gonna see if he can get a redemption kill back as he finds FakeGod and stabs him with the spear. Olleh is caught off from the rest of the team, but Tactical's not even there at the fight yet. He's making his way over, but Armao still gets a kill on Tomio, and Warriors are doing just fine without Tactical in this fight. And Shopify on the run. Tactical gonna get the soul and the laser, forcing Bvoy to flash, but the death charge was already channeled. He's keeping his distance. The rest of Immortals not gonna find anything more. The Chain of Corruptions, great punish by Bvoy.
Again, closely fought here. The turnaround kill was a nice little setup there. Zeyzal stayed further back in the lane. I like the positioning, so then he was able to use his crash down to both escape himself, but also set up the turnaround there. So Bvoy, as the tanky members were trying to walk away from their turret, easy time, lands his ultimate on the wide target that is Skarner, and gets the counter kill here. So again, we're still in this race, this AD carry race. And as Tactical right now, you see him pushing mid lane, so he was taking care of that mid lane tower while the fight was going. So all these kills here, Armao collects the first one, he flashes in onto Tomio to make sure that they're gonna get the second one as well, and it's 2 over to the Zhao. But by the time that Zeri eventually gets here, it's gonna be this nice little escape that we're talking about where Zeyzal moves up in the lane to be able to soak, and then good crash down. Castle can't get away with the ultimate afterwards, so the gold actually going into a better spot for Shopify in this one, where Bvoy just continues to collect.
Love seeing the reactions from both sides of the rift here. I will say Immortals have been showing a lot more proactivity in this first game than, I want to say, on average from their spring split alone. It seems that, you know, with the coaching change and just more time with this team, as Anera was the only real change for the squad going into summer split, the rest of the roster having more time to just synergize and build up even more reps together during the offseason, I think has clearly paid off.
Well, game neck and neck, gonna be a close one here. One dragon each, basically dead even in gold. It's gonna come down to some team fights, baby. So how well can they set those team fights up? Skarner does not get anything this time around. They are still moving in with vision advantage though for Immortals. Armao pops his sweeper here as well as they try and push out. It's going to be a little bit harder to threaten your turn. You still have Nautilus ultimate, but without the Skarner also having ultimate, your turn off of Baron and your Baron baits are way less threatening. So it actually was kind of a big cooldown that Shopify know Immortals are not using right now. They're still going to try and go for it. They're going to try and go for their Baron bait here. They've got their vision set up. You know, the checklist is all in order. So now they're going to look at the turn with a Nautilus ultimate. The damage on Baron is also pretty good. See if they can get their turn here, though. Doesn't look like it.
Big eyes on Bvoy. Still no flash from the prior couple fights ago. Shopify would have to buy some time as the dredge line from Olleh doesn't land. The Glacial Prison is the first thing. Massive Magnet Storm from Zeyzal locks them all up. Insanity's able to kite this one out though. Bvoy untouched. Insanity forced to flash. Immortals just are packing more damage than Shopify is, and they're able to trade out Tomio and Zeyzal.
Okay, that's gotta be a return to the Baron then. They've already got the pre-existing control ward set up behind. Bvoy, this is your time to shine again. Can he steal away this Baron? Olleh's looking around, teleport flank. They want a pincer movement. Castle's coming in behind him. Skarner can just go straight through the wall.
Dredge line right onto FakeGod. The blast cone sends FakeGod right into the arms of Armao and Tactical. Castle's into the back line. The Impale will spear them all in front of Immortals' waiting arms
nicely done from Immortals. They've got pressure on the Baron, they have pressure on the lower right, and the teleport from Castle completes the trifecta. Cruises through the wall, his ult is back up from the previous play, and they get the kills, they get the Baron. Immortals should be able to just decimate the Shopify Rebellion territory now. Take a look at this, like there is nowhere for them to go. Olleh goes in, starts it out with the nice hook into the blast cone, so FakeGod is stuck inside the pit. Meanwhile, the other two are stuck between a Skarner and a wall, which is never where you want to be. He gets wrapped up, gets his ult off cooldown, Baron taken down. Now they're going to teleport for even more kills.
But it's a teleport back from Shopify. Mask immediately forced a flash, which just sets an easy Glacial Prison from Tomio to lock him down. He's surviving just enough to throw up the Spiraling Despair. Maybe a trade's back on the Zeyzal, but Tactical is here for the cleanup crew. He's got his broom and is sweeping them all under the floor.
Yep, looks like this one's going straight into the base. Let's see, how deep can they get? Triple for Tactical, Immortals here with the Baron buff. They lost Mask, but it's fine because they got 3 kills, and they might even be able to go pretty deep. Let's see how deep. Inhibitor for sure. Can they end? Insanity and Bvoy waiting 10 seconds on Zeyzal. Probably can't end. Zeyzal will be back up. Tomio will follow shortly, so it's just going to be the retreat for Dragon, but 7,000 gold plus the extra Dragon here for Immortals. They definitely have control of the Rift.
And it's a 7,000 gold lead as well. Immortals are so definitively ahead against Shopify Rebellion. I mean, when we looked at both of how these compositions were going to interact, both were seemingly built for the team fight. But as you mentioned, while both Bvoy and Tactical were on par in terms of overall strength, the big problem is that Tactical has much more freedom and much more mobility, and Shopify don't really have a solid answer to deal with that mobility.
Yeah, plus Nautilus Skarner is just like such a giga frontline. It's so easy to execute. Your Nautilus is point and click. Your Skarner is just can fall up from anywhere. So let's see, how can Shopify work their way around this one? Honestly, they're gonna have to get really creative. Right now, it's gonna be a tough spot as well. Rumble's far away, and
wait, they didn't know where Insanity was. Armao tanks up the Glacial Prison. And it looks like the rest of Shopify are just gonna be on the run. Wow. Insanity somehow made it out alive. No one even knew where he was. But Shopify still have to worry about Immortals, who are now starting to lay the siege through the top lane.
Yeah, minion wave's pretty far away, so they might have to wait around a little while, but it is inevitable. Minion wave on the way. That top tower will die. They still have 12 seconds left on the Baron buff, so at least this secondary tower down. More payment to Immortals. They've got the 4-1 split push going. Castle taking care of the mid lane wave as they move on up. Now, Shopify, they got to get a good Sejuani ult with Varus and Rell following up here. That is their dream. Can they make their dream a reality here? The defense is very difficult, but you got to look for that opening. Tactical, remember, he's got both summoner spells, so it's going to be very difficult to pin down this Zeri. The 10-kill Zeri is your #1 enemy.
Tactical taking a giant chunk out of Insanity's health bar with that laser over the wall. As Tactical is going to be potentially solo splitting on the top side while Mask is drifting back and forth between the mid and the top lane. Mask has a decent amount of CC, Olleh does as well, and they're ready to see if they can catch Shopify in transition to either of those lanes and see if they can get a pick. The Baron buff has already expired for Immortals, so they no longer have that as an extra siege buff to make short work of these inhibitor towers. But they're finally going to step up. The equalizer comes down for FakeGod, tries to push Immortals back, but not a lot of damage. It just takes out the minion wave.
Yep. Meanwhile, since everybody rotated up there, oh, he goes for a little cheeky steal over the wall. Can't quite grab it. But they're just going to go for the reset anyway. He's got level 16 for Castle. Teleport is up, and they're going to call it at that. Immortals go to spend all of their extra money on luxuries, and we'll get right back to finishing this job later. I mean, just look at the experience advantages that have also ballooned because of the control of the neutral ground here in the Rift. Immortals, this is looking pretty casual for them, and honestly, this is the look that you want to see when you're trying to transition your scrim results onto the stage. They're calm, they're collected. Very easy way to play this out with the turbo-fed Zeri at the top of the charts here. Tactical has the game in his hands, and Olleh and Castle are there to serve it to him.
And it definitely feels good for someone like Tactical, who is the longest standing member on this Immortals organization, the only player that stayed with them while Immortals picked up the 4 new players during the top of spring season. And it looks like the synergy has really come through. Obviously, this is against Shopify Rebellion, and we might not know what that strength looks like against the rest of the teams in the league. But if you want to make a strong statement for the start of your summer split, this is how you do it.
Yep, and they're going to charge right into enemy territory. Olleh kind of shrugs off the initial damage here as they move up. And again, closing through your 4-1 split push, the Skarner top lane is a very good split pusher. I mean, usually you're like, the tanks, not that much, but Hollow Radiance actually just kind of annihilates minion waves. And Skarner being able to cruise through walls means that you can always threaten the collapse of your 4-1 split push. So he's kind of a cheeky split push as well as being a massive frontline for your squad. Gives you a lot of options, and they use those options to push Shopify so far away from Baron that it's not going to be a turn off Baron. It's just going to burn it down, and they'll return for Siege Part 2.
There you go. It's just really clean stuff from Immortals. I mean, Shopify are very limited in options and trying to get through the jungle quadrant without potentially giving up more deaths that would lead to the game ending. So I imagine Shopify's hopes are, I mean, I know that we're 8,000, 9,000 gold down, but our powers in our team fighting, our powers in the CC abilities that we have.
They're going to go on this wave because Mass just teleported up to this wave with the cannon. I actually like that call. They want to make use of this particular cannon as they get inside. Mask here, by the way, also reaching the level 18 on the giga scaling of AoE damage Hwei. So honestly, Shopify, there's not an angle, but gotta go.
There's a death charge, the counter engage from Zeyzal, locks up a couple members. Olleh is the first one to fall on Immortal's side, but Tactical still is free firing into the backlines. Armao leading the charge. They dodge the impale, but you have to dodge Tactical Zeri, who is just going to clean up every last member of Shopify. And he's just styling on them, going looking for the 360 no-scope like it's caught out here. And Shopify Rebellion, they tried. It was an honest attempt in the first 15 minutes of the game, but once Tactical got rolling, there was no way they could stop him. Immortals will take game 1 of this series.
Tactical was having a hard time hitting his cues when he was attempting to aim them. So he said, you know what? I'll probably have the same hit rate if I just fire them off in random directions towards the end. And that is going to be a nice one for Immortals Summer Split. Coming out, laying down game number 1 versus Shopify. Job is not done. We are best of 3s, of course, but this one is definitely going to inspire confidence. That was a deathless game from Tactical. And honestly, with Skarner at the wheel here, starting the game out with the hand-picked kill for Tactical, just kidnapping FakeGod, bringing him right over to the Zeri.
Yeah.
I really like this set play. The lane swap at 6 minutes for grubs is a very common one, but it's a very effective one, and they actually did it, a little bit before, and they primed it with a Skarner delivery of a kill to the Zeri. So from that point, it's just like, dream start to this game. And then they followed up with some cool, calm, collected fights.
Yeah, and it's just a far cry from the identity of what we saw from Immortals, who have multiple games throughout the spring split. Tactical was left alone on an island. There were multiple times where they were getting dove. The Twisted Fate AD carry game where he was pretty much just left for death multiple times, and Immortals were just preying on, well, maybe we'll play through Castle, maybe we'll play through Mask. But the fact that even the majority of the members of Immortals were empowering Tactical goes to show what happens when Eddie Raw is the star of the show. But before we head over to